All right, good morning and welcome to Mindset Monday. I'm Stephen Jarrett and I'm thrilled to change things up a bit. We will cover the last five, of course, key items when it comes to being a job seeker of our list of 10. So we'll cover that in just a moment. But I wanted to kind of change things up. I got some messages and some information from some folks who are maybe not a part of the community or they're currently working, and they said, hey, it would be great if we could hear from some of the foundation's members. You talk about that quite a bit at the end and say you're going to do some questions or some conversation. I thought I would just kind of start it off and just call on a few folks to share a little bit about what they've experienced over the weekend and how they've reset their mindset or what their plans are for this week. So it's kind of an open forum for a few folks to kind of share how they're tackling their next search. And we even have an alumnus who joined us today, so maybe we'll kick it over there at the end. We'll see how it goes. But if not, we'll save all that conversation for the very end. So for just a few moments, I'm going to call on a few folks. And right before we started recording here, we heard an amazing story from Cathy, who was talking about how she took out some of those frustrations and some gardening techniques. So I'm going to turn it over to Cathy to kind of talk through what her approach was this weekend and how that approach has set her up for success this week. So Cathy, I greatly appreciate you joining us. And Cathy, what do you have to say about mindset this week?
So this past weekend, lately it seems like the job search thing has been 7 days a week and other things don't get done. And I just really was mentally tired out this weekend. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to do anything job search wise this weekend. I'm going to do things around the house, out in the yard that I have to do. And one of the things that really needed done was weeds, which I hate weeds. And so I just got out there and it was attacking them in full. And my neighbors hearing me say, die, suckers, die. So, really taking my frustration out on the weeds. And I can honestly say I have none in my yard this morning. I've already gone out there and looked. So yes, it's working. And it's revitalized. I come back after a weekend. Sometimes it seems like with the job search, during the week especially, I feel different than others. And the weekend, and a weekend like this, I feel like I'm normal. And I don't know if that makes sense, but just getting away from it, I'm coming back to it more refreshed today.
No, I think that's incredibly healthy, and I won't say anything more because it actually fits into one of our truths, one of our top 10 truths. So I'll share it. I'll save it. But Stephanie, I'd love to hear your approach, obviously, and Cathy, thank you so much for sharing. But Stephanie, what are your thoughts around preparing yourself, not just in taking rest? What does it look like for you this week?
Well, I'm blessed to have an autistic brother, and I hosted his Special Olympics team this weekend and had a beautiful Italian feast. Some folks earlier asked like an Italian grandmother without being Italian or a grandmother, but I make and bake every single thing, and to see their perspective on their faces, when they're dealing with such chronic issues themselves, really gives perspective.
Oh, that is absolutely incredible. I love that for many ways, but I was blessed over my weekend. We were on a soccer trip, like most of you guys know, and I'll say I had a conversation with one of the fellow dads that has worked very, very much inside that space, and he was talking about how it recenters you and grounds you. And so I can only imagine from your perspective, he works the space without a child or a sibling. He just does it out of the kindness of his own heart. But to hear you say it as that being a sibling, what an amazing,
my only sibling. Yes.
What an amazing
having a child.
Yeah. Like what an amazing.
Though, by the way, folks like that who volunteer for that space and that those folks that are our most vulnerable population, or some of our most vulnerable, the elderly and disabled, salt of the earth.
I love it. And I'm 100% in agreement with that. So I'm gonna jump in because now those two pieces really do get me fired up for where we want to go inside of the top 10, and then I'll come back. And of course, at the end, we always have open forum. I'd love to hear from Steve as well as from Mesh and anyone else, of course, who pops on the live here. But I'm excited to have the closeout of the truths of the top 10. And one of the main reasons for that is simply because when you break down the struggles that most individuals have as a job seeker, it centers on a multitude of items, and I feel like these 10 level it. So if you remember, last week we really started this conversation talking about the full 10, right? And really who's tired but still trying. Like, that's the idea. If you're tired and still trying, it fits. And we covered the first 5 steps, which is ownership and worth and uncertainty, boundaries, and protecting your energy. And today we're going to move into this second half, which the next 5 are really focused in about maturity. And I think that word gets lost a lot of times because we don't understand that what we're really talking about when we lean into that is more about discernment, the importance of community, the consistency aspect of being a job seeker, and then really building forward even when motivation is non-existent or low. Because really, no one is waiting to be saved as a job seeker, from what I've discovered in my several years of building this out. And particularly in our community, we do not live that way, right? No one's coming to save you, but everybody's there to support you. That is our mantra. Thank you, Mel Robbins. But you can build forward, and that's the key every day. So today, as we dive into number 6, I really want you to kind of lean into this space, which is, it sits in the idea of stop trying to convince the wrong people. That's a big one. And this applies to all aspects. And I heard some great things before we got started around networking, and this really applies to networking. It applies to your interviewing. It applies even to your own confidence. Who are you really trying to convince that you're of value, right? You don't need to beg someone to see that value. You need to communicate your value with, of course, clarity and professionalism, and be consistent in that value. And there's a big difference when you understand that premise. When you're trying to convince the wrong people, you end up shrinking. You over-explain things, you chase, you try to become whatever you think they want. You start performing instead of communicating. But the right opportunities do not require you to abandon yourself. It's the key teaching of JSC. You still need to prepare. You still need to position yourself well. You still need to be able to show your alignment back to the company, the team, the work. But you should not have to become someone else just to be considered. Your job is not to be liked by absolutely everyone in the job search. Your job is to be understood by the right people. So this week, let's not chase for approval. Let's really work on our clarity. Let's work on how we show our value. Let's ask really strong questions, and let's tell the truth about our experiences and be proud of that. And then let's align ourselves back to that truth to convert it into value for them, the bridging of that gap. And the 7th one is great for me. This one's great. Some old versions of the dream may need to change, and even do we say die. And this conversation for me, I take a lot of pride in this, because I think it's one that we have to handle with care. Because I don't want people to say, wait a minute, you want my dreams to disappear. I'm not telling you to give up. I'm not telling you to lower your standards. Pretty much the opposite of that. I'm not telling you to stop believing that something meaningful is possible for you. But I am asking you to be honest. Sometimes the dream you were chasing was built around an old version of you, an old title, an old company, an old salary expectation, an old identity, an old definition of success. And sometimes the most mature thing that you can do is not quit the dream, but refine it. Maybe the role types are changing. Think of what's happening with AI and technology. Maybe the pathway to get where you want to be is altering and changing based on some of your own personal growth. Maybe the timelines of these adjustments and these changes are causing you to reevaluate what right looks like. Maybe the strategy is moving from checkers to chess. And maybe even the way you enter the room has changed. And I want you to lean on this. That's not failure. That is growth. Letting go of one version of the dream may be what allows the better version to appear. So this week, for number 7, ask yourself, am I still chasing alignment? Or am I chasing an old picture because I'm afraid to update it? There's a lot of power in that question, and I want it to sit with you as you think about it. Now, number 8, progress is built through repeatable actions, not emotional highs. And this one sits for all of our maybe our type A motivated individuals who just want that inspirational quote to get them fired up for the day. I want to break that habit. I really do. Motivation is incredibly helpful, but it's really unreliable. You've heard me say this over and over and over again. And I've even sat behind this microphone and said, look, Mindset Monday is not here to be this big jump start for you. It's to ground you so you can build proper momentum so that when the roller coaster ride of job seeking happens, you're better off. Because some days you'll really feel ready. And some days you're going to feel extremely heavy. Some days you're going to believe you can conquer the world. And some days you're still wondering why you're even still wandering through this journey as a job seeker. And that is so normal. And that is so human. And that is why you build systems. You need progress that's strong enough to carry you when your emotions are loud. And that means you have to build a system around that progress. Your resume refinement is great. Your LinkedIn improvement is great. Your networking rhythm is great. Your interview practice, great. Follow-up, reflection, your 3 wins, community engagement. These actions are not glamorous every single day, but they do compound. And this is where a lot of job seekers, they don't just lose the momentum, but they lose the grit. They wait until they feel confident in any of the string of those items I just listed. But confidence often comes after action, not before it. We do not need to feel amazing to take the next right step, but you do need to trust the system enough to move while you're still building the belief. That is discipline, that is maturity, and that is how, of course, true processes create progress and allows for greatness to happen in your own life. Now, number 9, I don't have favorites. I can't say that. But I do have some things that move me. And this one is that. The people around you matter more than you think. Job searching is lonely. And it gets much, much lonelier as you go through this process. And isolation is dangerous because it makes your thoughts become louder. When you are isolated, rejections start to feel heavier. Silence then leans into a space of becoming personal. Fear inevitably becomes believable, and comparison of others feels incredibly convincing that it's real. And that is really the purpose of community. You need people who remind you who you are when you start to forget. You need people who challenge you without shaming you. You need people who celebrate your smallest wins, and you need people who help you see what's working truly in your system. You need people who tell you the truth with care and honesty. You need people who keep you moving when your emotions are telling you to stop. So this week, I don't want you to lean in and feel despair, but I want you to ask questions. I want you to share your wins. I want you to show up to every single call that's available to you. I want you to send those messages. I want you to lean into the room and into the people who are in that room. The right community does not do work for you. It helps you keep doing the work that you need for you. It's not dependency. It's not hype. It's not noise for you. A room full of people who are learning how to build forward together is the most powerful tool that a job seeker can have. And the last one, this resonates back to something we said earlier. You are not waiting to be saved. You are building your way forward. Everything about our program is designed as a system. but there are some systems you'll lean into and there's some systems you will not. So if there's nothing else from the 5 last week to the 5 this week, to the incredible stories of what Cathy and Stephanie gave you, I want you to carry all this forward this week. And I want you to know you are not powerless. I know it can feel that way sometimes. I know you cannot control the market. You cannot control your timeline. I know you cannot control who responds to you today. You cannot control whether a company stops hiring or whether or not a company can truly hold their accountables or their recruiters accountable to give you feedback. But what you can control are the things I want you to focus on. You can control how you show up. You can improve all of your marketing materials. You can improve the depth and the strength of your network. You can practice telling your story authentically and directly. You can work on more powerful, direct questions with strategy. You can follow up with more intention and more humanity. You can track your wins more efficiently and cleanly. You can protect your energy. Please protect your energy. You can lean and learn from the feedback and generate and drive that feedback that you're getting, not just from interviews, but from your warm network, your mentors, and your communities to help you take the next step. And don't wait to be chosen, because you're preparing right now to open doors, not for someone else to open them for you. And that is a totally different posture. We are not passive. We are not desperate. And you and I are not hopeless in our search. We take ownership and we control all of our emotions, directing us towards the facts that are happening. And I want you to leave with this. I may not control everything, but I am going to give away the things that are punishing me or pulling me away. And I'm going to lean into the things that I can control for freedom and flexibility. That's your mindset this week. I want you to choose freedom. I want you to choose your system. And most importantly, I want you to choose yourself. Now, I don't want you to lean into all 10 of these. I don't want you to go back and rewatch the 5 unless you just feel like you need to. But what I do want you to do is, if you had one message last week or this week that's resonated with you, just one, pick one truth that's yours. I want you to really lean into that. I want that to become maybe your mantra. Maybe you practice it. Maybe you lean into it. Maybe it's your moment when you feel emotions rise. It's the moment that it allows you to leave those emotions for a second, take that deep breath, reset, and lean into the facts to point you back to what matters from your processes and systems to create progress. And remember, you're not alone. You can join us inside of our world. We'd love to have you at JSC. You've got now at this point almost 80 alumni that have been a part of this program. It's wild to see. And you have every opportunity to be able to come surround yourself with like-minded people who are finding success their way through systems that they're creating. I appreciate you guys as always. And of course, we're going to have our conversation live here with a couple folks. Hopefully this resonated with you. I'd love to see you in the community. Thanks a lot. And until next week, take care.